Hey everybody, welcome into the show. My name is Michael Barnaud and I'm your host here on Barnau's Blitz. And today I've got a special guest on. My brother Francois will be joining me, as well as Chris Ferera, who was here with us last week. I will let Francois introduce himself briefly. Francois, introduce yourself to the people.
Francois Barnaud. I'm a former college football player, played football with Chris and Michael, and just looking forward to talking about some good topics about the NFL and arguing with my brother a little bit.
Heck yeah.
All right. And Chris, we're going to give you some FaceTime right now. Let us have it. What are you up to?
Well, Francois is being modest because he wasn't just a college football player. He was an amazing running back, a beast, and one of the best running backs at our school in their history. So he's being modest. And yeah, I'm back and happy to be back on the channel with Mike talking football, all things. We just got done doing a movie podcast about Harrison Ford, and we're excited for people to listen to that.
It was a great time.
One of the great ones.
I highly recommend if you don't do it, you've got to go check that out on his podcast over there.
Yeah, we just launched our network, The Barker, which is going to have lots of content, including this show right here, The Blitz, and other shows. If you're into fatherhood and seeing two idiots trying to raise children, we have a podcast / blog called Dad Hats. We have couple other shows with some nitwits that like to drink alcohol and argue called Pick Your Poison, and then various other sports related and pop culture stuff. So we got lots of stuff there, but I'm excited to be on here and talk some football.
All right. Well, without any further ado, let's get to what we wanted to talk about today. The first thing we're going to talk about, and the opinions on this are probably going to vary on this during this particular hangout, but we're going to talk about Cam Newton first. Now, we don't really know what's going on with this. Matt Rule held a press conference today where he basically said, "Oh, I can't wait to get Cam Newton in," but we still don't know if the Panthers are going to commit to him. Now, I'm curious, what are you guys' thoughts on what you think the Panthers are going to do? And France, I think we'll start with you.
I think it's pretty much all going to depend on Cam Newton's health. I mean, you look at the last 2 years, they've come in saying the same thing both seasons. You know, he's our guy. We're going with Cam Newton. And that's great, you know, when he looks like an MVP Cam Newton. But the last 2 years, his body just has not held up. So the bottom line is they can say whatever they want, but I personally think they're looking to move off of him just because of what I said. His body can't hold up, apparently, to an NFL season. The guy can't make it through 2 games healthy anymore. Like, is just beat up.
Yeah.
That's
we were just talking off air, talking about how the people that are crushing Cam now are the same ones a couple of years ago that were calling him the MVP and the best quarterback in the league. And it's not his fault that the way he plays football has to him. Obviously, it was successful for almost a decade, and it's just football. You get hit that many times, your body's gonna start slowing down, and Cam plays so aggressive. So, for the people that are crushing and hating on Cam and saying he was never a good quarterback, I'm like, did you watch him play and watch him his early career at the Panthers?
Well, the thing is, like, when I watch Cam Newton now versus them, the biggest thing that stands out to me is just that he doesn't seem to be able to throw the ball down the field as much as he used to. And like Francois was saying a minute ago, he can't stay healthy these days. I agree that I think the Panthers are going to move off of him. I can't see them staying with him just because his injury history in the last 2 seasons, even 2018, that season kind of went downhill when Cam got hurt because the offense was so heavily predicated on, his abilities when he's healthy. And then this last year, he goes down in the preseason, gets the foot injury, and he plays, but he can't really play. So his season is ended in week 2, and now the Panthers have to play a whole schedule with a backup quarterback and essentially just wash the entire season down the drain. So I think they're going to move off of him. But the question, I think, the awkward question, Matt Rule and...
Are you saying Kyle Allen ain't a franchise quarterback?
Something like that, I guess.
No.
I got front row seats to watch the 49ers end Kyle Allen's career. He was riding high. What was he, undefeated and didn't throw a pick in like 4 games? And then he played the Niners.
And then the Niners ruined the dream. They ruined the dream.
They were the team that ruined that was the truth. They were the team that ruined him. I mean, like, it was all gold till then.
He was sitting there like getting ready to stand on the podium as the guy winning the Super Bowl, and now he's like Stevie in the corner, just like shaking with PTSD after what Nick Boat and those guys did to him.
It was the beginning of the end.
But the thing was, the crazy thing about the Panthers was, like, with Cam Newton, you got to almost feel for Ron Rivera and like that whole deal, because he pretty much hitched his wagon to Cam Newton, and he was just like, we're going with Cam. He's our guy. Like, and he's just going to be our guy. He's our guy. We're going with him. Even though, like, with the injuries and everything, he stuck behind his guy and basically, said, this is our guy and we're sticking with him. And it cost Ron Rivera's job in a way. I mean, like, that team with the quarterback was a playoff caliber team. And,
I mean, a Super Bowl caliber team like 2-3 years ago.
Yeah, and then Cam Newton got hurt, and he had to play the whole season with backup second and third string quarterbacks, and really it did cost him his job. So I know Cam Newton's kind of what we're trying to talk about, but it's kind of a feather in Ron Rivera's cap. Like, he's a head coach now for Washington, but like that guy, I mean, you want to talk about a guy that players can get behind. He's one of them. I think that was the best hire of the offseason was Washington hiring Ron Rivera.
I think that the Panthers are absolute morons for firing him.
I would agree.
It wasn't his fault.
Why? Because of like 1 or 2 bad years that are all predicated on health-related stuff.
Right.
You could tell that the team thought the same thing, because the game after that they fired him, the team just basically
quit.
They quit. They threw in the towel.
They just tanked. They went.
Well, then I might not have anything to do with it. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But Luke Kuechly retires, and like he was a big advocate about Ron Rivera when he got fired. He was very upset when Ron Rivera got fired. Like, all their good players were upset when Ron Rivera. When that happens, you made the wrong decision. Like
this Panthers, catastrophe that is this season reminds me, again, I love to bring everything back to the 49ers, but it reminds me of the end of the Harbaugh era when Kaepernick had his stuff going on. Patrick Willis retires in the middle of that offseason, and then the GM and ownership can't get along, and then they just blow everything up. And they just went back. They salted the earth and went back to from the start. And I honestly think that's what Carolina is about to do, I think.
Yeah. Well, at least Carolina hired Matt Rule. Didn't the 49ers hire, like,
we hired Jim Tom Sula.
or Tom Jim Sula or whatever it was.
Oh, what a disaster
guys, I guess. I mean, I don't know, but at least we got Kyle Shanahan out of the whole deal.
Our owner has eaten so much crow over those Tom Sula and then Chip Kelly right after year, like immediately just fired 2 coaches after 1 year.
It was
thank God for Kyle Shanahan.
Tom Sula just looked like you're like some just dad on the sideline, just some guy wandered down onto the field.
Exactly.
Decided he'd coach the 49ers for the game.
He looked like he should be in a pizzeria in the back flipping dough.
Dude. No, there's Jim Tom Sula. There's no way he cut the mustard as an NFL head coach. I can't believe they did that to this day.
So ridiculous. I don't know.
Well,
like I said, you got Kyle Shanahan out of the deal, so
that seems to be the new thing too now with the teams that fire their coaches. They're giving them these huge deals, 6 years. Finally, they're not You think the Raiders or the Browns would have learned after a while, you got to let somebody establish their culture and system for like at least 3 or 4 years before you see any results. Whoa. I mean, Kyle Shanahan, it's now been 3 years, and now you're starting to see the fruits of it. And he was given a 6-year deal, same with John Lynch. So we'll see with Matt Rule given, that long. That's why I think, honestly, he knows he has time on his side. He might just blow this whole thing up.
Yeah, I think I
Right.
think.
Well, another thing, just to touch on that real quick, but another thing like that, Kyle Shanahan, like this is his 3rd year, and he's finally like seeing success. Last year, when his franchise guy got hurt, like Ron Rivera's, the 49ers were awful.
Awful.
I mean, they couldn't win a game.
Yeah.
I mean, they were competitive just like the Panthers, but they couldn't win.
Yeah.
And look what happened the following season. You go to the Super Bowl. That to me is why firing Ron Rivera, when you lose your quarterback like that, you can't judge a coach off of that season.
No.
Why fight? I don't know. That was just
No,
the dumbest.
it wasn't fair. But I think Rule understands he's got a blank check there, and he's gonna be bringing in he's gonna be tasked with getting that organization back to where it's supposed to be. But they're gonna give him time. They're not gonna expect wins early on. And
that's why I think they're moving off of Cam Newton. Well, that's why I believe they're moving off of Cam Newton is because of that.
I think so too. The awkward question, I think that the Panthers are going to have to answer when they go to deal Cam Newton is, well, this guy was in the Super Bowl just a couple of years ago, and he was league MVP, and now you're saying he's healthy and you want to deal him. Why do you want to deal that guy?
I don't know. I honestly think they're gonna have tough getting much out of him on trade. I don't know. It's gonna depend on his health, but
him being the probably the best player in your franchise's history and what that might do to ticket sales and everything else, off the field, how they'll react to that.
Well, true, but I mean, you look back to what he looked like at the beginning of last season. Look how he was unwatchable. In that Tampa Bay Buccaneers game, he couldn't.
It is true, but you could tell he was throwing off his back foot the whole time. He couldn't put any weight on, and he wasn't running like he used to. You could tell he was not able to move around.
Tom Brady could run better than him.
Yeah,
that's
bad. It was bad. He could not move. He could not. Once he hurt his foot, he could not move at all.
You see Tom Brady on that scramble against the Chiefs where he went for 15 and gave the
he was fired up at the end of it.
That's right.
He's running further than Cam Newton could.
I think they're moving off him as well. I think I don't know if you have where you think he's going to go. You want to go there now, or can I say where I think he would look great if he wasn't in Panther uniforms?
No, by all means.
I think honestly a great landing spot for him would be the Chargers. Because Cam is all into, his fashion and everything like that. And if he comes to LA, it would be a perfect marriage because the Chargers, Phillip Rivers is out of town now. And the Chargers need somebody that's going to sell tickets because they can't compete in the LA market with the Rams and all the other stuff going on here. Cam, even though if maybe he's not, MVP Cam, people would come out, I think, to watch him in LA.
Yeah, he'd sell tickets. He'd sell tickets for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think so too. I'm personally not gonna venture to guess where he's gonna end up. I don't know who's gonna take a guy like Cam Newton. At this point in his career, I heard the Bears have withdrawn their interest.
I've heard the Bears a few times too. If Cam Newton's healthy, look, make no mistake, if he truly can return to form. There's a lot of teams in the league who would love to have Cam Newton.
Yeah.
I mean, let's face that. I mean, that's true. But that's the big question is, who is he anymore? Are you going to get Cam Newton or are you going to get the guy from last year?
Can you imagine how this would be another amazing destination for him? Say if Brady leaves New England and Belichick brought Cam in and they just redid the whole offense to just suit him. And what Belichick could come up with, maybe with his skill set.
Josh McDaniels. Josh McDaniels is probably the most creative offensive coordinator in the NFL. So.
I mean, look what he did with Tim Tebow obviously everyone crushes him for that and how it being failed, but they won a playoff game.
Yeah,
right.
With a guy who couldn't hit the broadside of a barn.
Yeah.
Well, I mean I don't know, but I think that's gonna happen. But I think. Moving into what the Panthers, moving on to something else with them, what do you think the odds are, now that they hired Joe Brady away from LSU, what do you think the odds are that they will make a move to try and go up and get Burrow and pair them up in the NFL?
I don't think they have the firepower because either you're going to have to move way up to get him, and I just can't see Joe Burrow's going number 1.
They're sitting at 7, and that would have to be like a Herschel Walker type.
Yeah,
deal.
you would have to give away like your whole draft class to go there.
How about this? Here's my hot take on how that could work, and I was gonna spin this on you anyways. I'm a firm believer that Matt Rule should just burn this thing to the ground and rebuild it. And to do that, I think here's my hot take. They need to trade Christian McCaffrey before they have to pay him. Trade him now while he's so valuable. Can you imagine what they would get in return? So if you were talking about, Mike, your theory about them getting Burrow, if you gave, Cincinnati Christian McCaffrey, then maybe you could get Burrow.
No,
and then rebuild the whole thing. But I honestly think if they're gonna blow this thing up, are you gonna pay Christian McCaffrey? You're gonna have to pay him more than Zeke got. You're gonna have to pay him more than Gurley got.
Right.
Probably.
Right. Probably gonna want that kind of money. But here's
I do agree on one thing with that. Personally, you and I both know there's no way they're gonna trade McCaffrey just because McCaffrey sells a lot of tickets and a lot of jerseys.
Yeah.
But I do agree with you on one sense. Look what happened. A guy who gets a heavy workload like that, look what happened to Gurley.
Yeah.
When he had obviously McCaffrey doesn't have the injury history Gurley had, but like it's kind of proven when you pay a running back a lot of money, more times than not it comes back to bite you bad. You wind up being stuck paying this guy a boatload of money and he's injured half the time. Like,
which sucks.
I do agree with you. I do agree with you on that aspect.
No, it's the thing is, here's my only issue with that, and the biggest issue I have, I suppose, with that theory, because I thought the same thing. Because like, what do the Panthers have to offer that they can get that high? We say McCaffrey, but we're forgetting about Joe Mixon in this whole thing. Like, I'm not gonna say Joe Mixon's as good as Christian McCaffrey, but he's a pretty damn good running back in the NFL. So
he's one of the top 5 running backs in the NFL.
Exactly.
If they have any sort of offense around him, he's legit.
He is. So I don't know if they have. I don't know if they have what they need to get up there and do that. But but this does lead me to something else that I was thinking about. Right now, what is you guys' opinion, or what would you say? And what is your feeling on who was more important to the other one's success? Do you think Joe Brady or Joe Burrow was more important? Because now they're in opposite places, and we're going to find out.
Yeah.
I think Joe Brady's in a better situation than Joe Burrow's about to be.
I agree with that.
They're talking about how he might not even play. Or he will pull an Eli Manning.
Now listen, I don't know. I just heard Joe Brady's name for the first time a couple months ago, and now he's apparently the second coming to Christ in calling offenses. So let's even see if he can do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Cliff Kingsbury only won 5 games his first year. Mind you, he had a rookie, but I mean, he's now proving that you can come into the NFL with that type of scheme and have some success.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know, a 23-year-old quarterback who finally blossomed and now is going to be coming in as a rookie. And by the time he has his sea legs under him, he'll be what, 27, 28 maybe?
Right.
Versus, these other quarterbacks that come in when they're 20. I mean, because Burrow's what, a 5th-year senior?
He's 20. Yeah, he's 23, I think. He's older than Lamar Jackson right now.
Yeah,
Lamar's been in the league for 2 years, so yeah, he's a little bit older, but that could help him a little bit too. Like,
I mean, I'm not going to call him Josh Whedon, but
Brandon Whedon
or Brandon Whedon, that's his name.
Brandon Whedon.
Yeah. When he was like 30 years old, a rookie in the NFL, and the Browns drafted him with their first pick in the first round pick. I'm like, what are you doing?
Idiots.
30-year-old rookie quarterback. First round. That's just Browns right there.
Oh my god.
All right,
never would take Johnny Manziel right after that.
All right, I'm gonna come out though, and I'm gonna make a bold prediction right here. I think Joe Burrow's gonna pan out no matter what. I think he's gonna be a beast in the NFL.
I actually really like Joe Burrow too, as far as the dude has major confidence. I don't know what they fed him down in LSU, but he went from being just some guy to walking around with a cigar in his mouth after the championship game. Like
those videos were so awesome.
this dude is like another kind of confident. Like I think he believes he can walk in the NFL and win the Super Bowl with the Cincinnati Bengals or the dude has a crazy confidence.
That might be what you need to succeed there right now.
Yeah, I like Burrow. I do. Like, even though he's a one-hit wonder kind of guy, like this was his only real good season. Now, granted, it was the best season in college football history, but there are some red flags there. Like, I think you got to really do your homework and, watch film on him if you're like in that position where the Bengals are, just to make sure you're getting the right guy. But I really like Burrow. I think he's going to have success no matter where he ends up.
Yeah, I think so too.
Well,
I don't know why you wouldn't take him if you were the Bengals because he's from Ohio.
Right. Yeah. Like, I think that's a no-brainer.
Yeah. Unless he pulls, like an Eli Manning, which then then what team would he force himself to?
Right. That's the other question.
And why would he do that though and piss off his home state? I don't know if he would do that.
Who would I don't know. Like, anytime people say that, I'm like, who would ever do that? Like, this is a guy who a year ago was like a 5th-round pick projected.
Yeah.
And now he has the season of a lifetime, and you're talking about being the number 1 overall pick, and people are like, seriously think he's going to be like, nope, not going to play for you. Are you kidding me? Like, this guy, he's like on cloud 9 right now.
Like maybe if you won 3 straight Heisman trophies in college and you come out, you can decide where you want to go and use that leverage. But this is a guy that just had, like you said, 1 year.
Yeah, the year before he wasn't even a 1st-round projected pick the year before. No one was even talking about
him.
No, nope. And I remember Gary Danielson said at one point in that LSU-Alabama game 2 years ago that LSU's just not good enough at quarterback. That was with Burrow there,
right?
Which is why I mean, I wonder about who's going to mean more to who. Like, did Burrow mean more or did Brady mean more?
I think the answer to that is actually fairly it's pretty simple. I mean, the easy answer is Joe Brady meant more to Joe Burrow. Mm-hmm. I mean, because look, he came there, he was for 1 year, and look at the year Burrow had underneath him. Like, you can't really compare Joe Brady because he never really was in that position before. That was his first time ever really doing that. So it was like, for Burrow, he had already been in college. He had already started for LSU the whole season before, and he wasn't that great.
Yeah.
So it's easy to just say, well, Joe Brady meant a lot more to him than he did to Joe Brady. But like you said, you're going to find out.
Yeah. But if you looked at it, though, you watched Joe Burrow play last year, he made a lot of plays off script. That's the part that tells me that, well, maybe a lot of this was Burrow. Like, because it wasn't all the offense. Like, Joe Burrow improvised plenty last year.
Yeah, and let's also remember, like, people were like, oh, he's throwing to wide open receivers. But some of the throws he made, insanely accurate.
It had to be a dime.
They were, yeah. And he was basically playing with NFL receivers already, too.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, he was throwing to some dudes.
Oh, my God.
So
it wasn't like the cupboard was bare at LSU and he was throwing to
not exactly throwing them open.
It wasn't like he's like Tom Brady throwing to converted quarterbacks and stuff.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about this just for a moment. I'll probably do my own video on it later, a shorter video, and analyze it more in depth. But what do you guys think of Colin Cowherd's take on Tua Tagovailoa and saying that Tua's a great prospect, Burrow's a great story? I thought with this whole thing, I thought that it was like this is Colin Cowherd. He loves to use the phrase "outthink the room." I think this is him outthinking the room because every time I've seen the two, first off, they matched up once this last year, and Burrow killed him. That game was over before with 8 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. The game was over. And so I look at the whole thing.
And Tua was throwing to 2 first-round receivers. We talk about Burrow's receivers being good. Tua's receivers were the best in the country.
Yeah, they were unbelievable. So again, I just think that this is one of those deals where Colin Cowherd just is, again, he's saying something that he knows is controversial. It's like, listen, there's so much not to like about Tua Tagovailoa in terms of against Joe Burrow, just because the fact is Tua has a pretty bad record in big games. I mean, that's just reality. He does.
Minus the national championship game.
Right.
Right.
But in that
When
game.
he won the game for Alabama.
Right.
Yeah.
But in that game, he came in as an unknown, and they didn't know who he was. Like, every game that he's been in that he was prepared for, he has not done well. Like, that game, he came in at the half. Georgia didn't know anything about him. And he goes in, he's like, and they found out, whoa, this dude's got a big arm, and he's got a lot of these other things. But when he's been game planned for in big games, he has not done well. And so that's a little bit of a red flag to me. But
not to mention the health stuff.
There's the health stuff, too.
To me, health is the biggest thing with him. Like, talking about Cam Newton can't stay healthy. Tua doesn't even run that much, and he can't stay healthy. So what's going to happen when NFL D linemen start hitting him? I mean, that's a big jump. And in terms of athleticism and speed and strength, you're talking about a whole different type of cat between college D linemen and linebackers and NFL D linemen and linebackers.
Not to mention he's a lefty, and those quarterbacks are like extinct now in the NFL.
I know.
The
Steve
offense,
Young,
I know,
Vick.
the man that like.
Those are the last ones.
I think it's. I mean, it's harder for an offense to, just game plan around left-handed, of course, because everything it's a right dominated sport.
Right.
But I guess it really will depend on what Zach Taylor does with the offense. There is he going to go with like the McVay offense that they ran down in? Because I think Burrow could be successful in that, like how Goff was super successful, but
yeah.
It really depends because, they're not going to run. I don't think they're going to run what they ran at LSU in Cincinnati if they have him. So that could be something that limits Burrow there.
Well, let's also keep in mind, Joe Burrow, like, they were out of the gun the whole game, which anymore it doesn't matter as much. Like, NFL offenses are transitioning more towards college-type offenses anyways, but he never went under center. No. I mean, like, ever. No. So it's going to be interesting to see because like guys like these two guys, like Burrow and Tua, if you draft them, that's your guys. So don't make them transition into your offense and be like, no, you have to run it the way we want to run it. Like change your offense to them. Yeah. What will make them the best quarterback? Well, the same thing the Ravens did with Lamar Jackson.
I was about to go there.
Don't do that stupid old school thing of like, oh, no, we're going to bring you in, but you're going to be in our system, and you're going to be a pro quarterback.
Yeah.
That's all well and good, but, like, make your offense the best offense for the guy you're drafting and giving millions of dollars. Don't try and force him into something he's not good at.
Yeah.
Yep.
I would agree. The last thing I'll say on this before we move to our next topic is the whole thing with Joe Burrow's hands. This is the last thing I'll say about it. If you let his small hand measurement scare you away from drafting Joe Burrow, you deserve the Mitch Trubisky treatment. If you're seriously gonna put that much stock into something that stupid and insignificant, you deserve the Mitch Trubisky treatment, where a guy looks fantastic on the measurables, can't play at all on the field. But
I've always had a problem with these bullshit combine things that they do like that, judging your hand size. I understand the purpose of the combine, getting guys out there running with actual guys that are going to be NFL talent players and getting them to meet them and stuff like that. But maybe 20 years ago that stuff mattered. But now that the NFL is moving into like this almost college-styled system across the board, I would rather – I don't give a shit if you have small hands. Did you win games? Were you successful? Were you a leader? Like, why the hell does it matter what his hand sizes are?
Right. I know. Like, that's the thing that blows me away is, like seriously. Like, so if I'm the Bengals and I'm like, oh, bummer, man. He measured 9-inch hands. Can't take him.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have to go with someone else. I don't know how we take him now.
But
what is that?
Throw it out the window.
And guess what? The funniest thing is say he goes to Cincinnati and he fumbles like 4 or 5 times his first season. Oh. You and I both know there's going to be guys like, and he measured those small hands.
Those small hands.
That was a big concern.
That's what it did. I actually think Burrow had a great response to this on Twitter when he was like, oh, they measure my hands small. I guess I'll retire, basically. Like, I thought he had a great response.
And also on the small hand thing, too, if you watch Burrow in the pocket, That dude has two hands on the ball almost all the time. I never like really saw him out here like swinging the ball around loosey goosey and like putting the ball in harm's way. Even in the national championship, that amazing scramble he has in the pocket where he gets out, that dude has two hands on the ball all the time. So I'm not worried about small hands with him.
It's fun. That's the thing. It's fundamental. It'd be one thing if it was like, oh man, he's running around. He's like Johnny Manziel. He's just wild west out here. Mm-hmm. Joe Burrow's a coach's kid. His fundamentals and mechanics are unreal. I mean, the guy is like, he's like a robot playing quarterback.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, the biggest issue for them is going to be who the hell's blocking for him. Because if you ain't got people blocking for him, then
maybe trade up and get a left tackle somewhere.
Yeah, no matter if you got 15-inch hands, if no one's blocking for him.
And not to mention, the small hand thing didn't stop Trump from becoming president. Don't see why it could stop Burrow from becoming an NFL quarterback. But I'll say it about the combine, Chris, and this goes off what you were saying a minute ago. There more bad decisions are more teams talk themselves into bad decisions and out of good ones during this week, during any other week in the NFL. Mm-hmm. This week right here that we're in, combine.
I would agree. Yeah. I would say the worst one in recent memory is Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes and Mitchell Trubisky being taken over those two guys. I mean,
that will forever, now that he has won a Super Bowl, live in infamy.
And look at Deshaun Watson. Like, look at both those guys, and they were way better in college too. It's not like but Mitchell Trubisky was better in college. No, he just looked better in shorts at the combine. So they were like, "Oh, we like him. He's your prototypical quarterback."
Exactly. That's why I said you deserve the Mitch Trubisky treatment if you're going to draft off that.
Me either, Chris. And this is one time when I've been wrong before, but this is one time where I was like spot on. I was like, dude, why are people not drafting Deshaun Watson? What are they seeing in Trubisky? Like, he was taken not just like a pick ahead of him. He was taking like 10 picks ahead of these two guys. I'm like,
yeah, he was taking 7 picks before, or 8 picks, seven or 8 picks before.
I think it was 8 ahead of
Mahomes, and then it was 13 or 14 ahead of Deshaun.
Yeah,
that's a draft that I remember vividly because the 49ers had the second pick in that draft, and I was praying. I'm like, do not touch Mitchell Trubisky. This dude didn't even win at North Carolina in college.
He played one season.
And we fleeced the Bears. We took all their draft picks for them to move up that.
Isn't it crazy?
Everybody's fleecing the Bears. They fleeced them. Everybody just taking all their picks from them.
Isn't it crazy though how all of us saw bust on Trubisky and like all these NFL owners somehow didn't see it? I was like,
NFL GMs. That's the one move where I was like, how are you being paid millions of dollars and you do that? Like, how are you have a room full of supposed professionals and you're all sitting there together, and you're watching Deshaun Watson and Mitchell Trubisky, or Patrick Mahomes and Mitchell Trubisky, and you're like, I like the Trubisky kid.
I mean, even Trubisky, 2 years ago when the Bears had their 13-win season, even in that year, it wasn't because of Trubisky that they won all those games.
No.
It was the defense.
It was that defense.
But you guys know, you guys know why that happened. It's because of weeks like this.
Yeah,
that's why it happened.
Well, because it's because people get paid money to put on this event, and we need to put them on TV, and we need to, obviously I'm not going to talk down on football, but we want football on 24/7 and 365. And so we need to make this event bigger and more important than it really is.
Right. It has to be relevant.
And they literally overthink everything.
And that's why Joe Burrow's hands are suddenly a story.
That's the dumbest. Oh man.
What's the quote from The Fugitive with Harrison Ford? He had a
mechanical arm.
He had a mechanical arm.
Yeah.
So
that's the combine. Let's face it. Most positions, the combine means what the hell is an O lineman doing running a 40-yard dash?
Yeah.
Like, what is going on? Like, I bet you, if you talk to Joe Staley and be like, hey, how many times did you run 40 yards in the NFL? You'd probably be like, oh, twice in my 15-year career. Like, you never do it. Like, some of these things that these guys do, they don't matter.
Yeah.
But you're right, Chris. It has to matter. It has to be relevant because football's not going on right now. So they got to have something.
Yeah.
Need the ratings.
They got to feed the monkey.
And I mean, what you're doing is you're grooming these guys to become superstars and TV personalities by putting them on TV a bunch. So it's getting their names like in our heads already. So I see why they do it. But people overthinking stuff.
Keeping this conversation on quarterbacks, and particularly quarterbacks in the draft, the Ron Rivera situation. Chris, I think you were talking about this earlier with Haskins. There's probably not a guy in the NFL who I feel worse for right now than Haskins. He comes in to what is already a dumpster fire organization, and he gets thrown to the wolves halfway through the year, and he gets pulled, then he gets put back in, and just gets jerked around.
Let's not forget his first start. Or his first game time was against the Patriots defense. That was the time they thought you know what? Let's throw this rookie kid in there. See what he's got against the Patriots defense.
Well, but I seriously wonder though, like, do you guys think that the Redskins are thinking they're going to draft a quarterback?
It wouldn't surprise me.
Ron Rivera was quoted like literally today or yesterday that he said that he likes DWAYNE, but will consider all options. So, I mean, that could be literally, he could be playing some mind games, trying to get coaches to want to trade up, make some trades with him. But I don't know. Haskins, in the limited starts he did, showed some promise. That dude can move around pretty well.
He got better. I will say that. He did get better as the season went on.
But if he was playing quarterback like 5-10 years ago and he did what he did this year, we would be talking about him being a stud. But because now quarterbacks, they come out and they immediately perform. If you don't come out and ball out by your first and second year, you're a bust. Whereas back in the day, it was like, let somebody look at Peyton Manning. How many picks did Peyton Manning throw his first year?
Like the record.
Yeah,
I think it's the record. I'm pretty sure it's the record.
He was Jameis Winstoning it back there.
And if Peyton Manning was playing right now, teams would be like, you got to move off that guy. Back then, they gave them more of a leash.
Probably.
Yeah, they did. The Colts went like 3-13 his first year. Like, they were bad. His first year in the NFL, they were horrible.
Yeah.
But as far as Haskins goes, this brings us back to the Joe Burrow thing on the one season. It's such when a guy only starts for one season like that. Now, Joe Burrow had 2 years of actually starting, but Haskins, just like Trubisky, he only started for one full season at Ohio State. That was it. That was all he actually started, and was like. So, you drafted him based off of that one season. He had 50 touchdown passes in that one season. He looked amazing, but those one-year guys, you have to really do your research and your homework and your film study on those guys because you have such little to look at that it's hard to really peg a guy when he only has 12 or 13 games of film.
Not to mention, if I'm Ron Rivera, I didn't draft Haskins, so I could spend 2 years with him, and if he's bad, I can dump him, and it's not my fault.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas if you decide to take a quarterback right now, that's your guy, and that's what we're going to judge off. So if I'm him, you buy yourself some more time by rolling with Haskins right away and being like, look, all right, like I tried to give the kid a shot, but it didn't work out. And why would you miss out on a surefire thing that has Chase Young sitting right there?
That's tough.
I think it's all mine. I think it would be hilarious if somehow the Lions, similar to the Bears, they trade up to go to 2 to try to get the quarterback, or they're like, I honestly think it's all mind games from Rivera. I think they're taking Chase Young, and I think he's trying to get somebody I don't even think he'd trade out of it unless he got a king's ransom, because why would you trade back and miss out on someone like Chase Young?
Right.
Unless like Detroit, which I don't know if you wanted to talk about Detroit too, because that's where people are saying the draft is going to begin, because they're saying the Lions could be moving off of Stafford and could go quarterback there.
I've heard those discussions. Like they're saying that they might move
if
away
the Lions,
from Stafford.
If the Lions move off of Stafford, hottest free agent in football is Matt Stafford. 100%. That dude, I still maintain. There's a lot of people who don't like Matt Stafford. They just, they got obviously it's the same thing. He can't really stay healthy lately, and then early in his career he had injuries, and he's kind of a gunslinger guy. But I like Stafford. Like, he's tough. He's got a hose. I mean, he's got probably the strongest arm in the NFL. And, like, he just seems like a dude who, like, his teammates do really like him. Like, they'll play for him. Like, it's hard to find guys that other professional grown men, alpha males that will follow. It seems like players follow Matt. Like, they want to play for Matt Stafford.
Yeah.
And it's hard to find that. Like, that's probably one of the biggest traits a quarterback can have. No matter how talented a guy is, if people don't want to play for him, like, it doesn't matter.
And it's not like Detroit has had a history of winning, and then all of a sudden Stafford came there and they're not winning. It's like they've never been good.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, like, Stafford, and he got undercut. Like, Calvin Johnson retired early, and, like, when him and Calvin Johnson were together, they were unreal.
Yeah.
But, like, Stafford, like, he's had tough goes. I mean, Jim Caldwell was a good head coach.
I don't know why anyone let him go.
No. And they fire him, and they hire Patricia, which that guy to me is not a head football coach in the NFL, but whatever. But I'm just saying, like, Matt Stafford, he is Detroit. He is the Detroit Lions.
Matt Patricia is the Jim Tom Sula 2.0.
Yes, I was just gonna say that. I was like, is there a ship sinking? I was like, is there a ship sinking faster than Patricia's Detroit Lions ship?
Yeah. Patricia should have been fired this year. That was a mistake.
Definitely. That was a mistake. You bring in a defensive coach and you're this bad on defense. Yeah, that's inexcusable. I think he should have been fired this year.
Let's remember another thing, like the people that are saying move off of Stafford, they didn't win a game last year without Stafford.
Yeah.
Not one game. He got hurt. They could not win a game without him. Like, kind of shows you how important he was to that team, kind of.
I know if I was his agent, I'd know that stat.
Yeah, right.
Sure. But I want to shift to something else. We're keeping in the quarterback realm, because right now, like, that's honestly what I want to discuss, are quarterbacks. Phillip Rivers, I'm hearing there's discussion he could go to the Colts. What do you guys think?
I heard that just because I heard that in a Melvin Gordon tweet, because Melvin Gordon was talking about how their old offensive coordinator is in Indianapolis. And honestly, Indianapolis, has like a Phillip Rivers feel to it, just the city and who he is.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know if they would. I mean, they might, because maybe they thought, they had everything in place with Andrew Luck, and then they could plug in a veteran right there that could, get them back to where they thought they were with Luck. Yeah. So I could see it happening.
Well, here's what I like about it. If I was Rivers, what I like about it is, the first thing is you don't have to play behind a garbage offensive line again like you did last season with the Chargers. Mm-hmm. And you have weapons. You've got a run game. You've got a number one receiver. He can't stay healthy, but you've got a number one. I mean, there's plenty there to win.
For Rivers, it's a no-brainer, right?
If I was Rivers,
going to offer you a starting job is where you're going. Because let's face it, there's not a lot of teams that are going to be interested in Phillip Rivers.
Well, I told Mike, I said, if I'm Rivers, I'm trying to go down to Tampa Bay and break Jameis Winston's interception record.
I would do it too.
Because we know Phillip loves to throw picks too.
He might.
Picks.
But here's the deal. If I was Phillip Rivers, I would go to the Colts before I go to Tampa Bay. I think the Colts are more ready to win right now than Tampa Bay is.
They got a much better offensive line.
Right,
for an old quarterback, that's a big deal.
Tampa Bay though has better weapons, I think.
That's true. Tampa Bay's got they got weapons everything. Their passing game, and Bruce Arians is their passing, their head coach, and he's his offense for down the field throwing.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I think they're going to stick with Jameis because he's like Phillip Rivers is old. Like they love throwing the ball down the field. Like they need a strong arm quarterback. I'm not saying Phillip Rivers can't, but he's old, and I don't think he's got the kind of arm Jameis has.
No, but the tough part is like with that though is that Arians has been trashing Jameis. It seems like quite a bit.
Has he?
I saw that.
It's like yeah, he had a pretty sloppy December. I'm like, it's a pretty sloppy year there, Arians.
That's put it in nice.
December.
30 interceptions.
Oh my god! Hey, but he had LASIK, so who knows? What if all of a sudden now he becomes, the greatest quarterback of all time?
There was like no interceptions this year. It's like, geez, he was just
back there squinting his eyes, blind, throwing it.
He was throwing it at like just a red blob somewhere. He's like, yeah, that's my guy over there.
I believe it.
My guy.
I believe it.
The one topic I kind of wanted to ask you two about was how don't you think it's kind of silly in Jacksonville that they're even thinking about going back to Nick Foles?
Chris, you want to go first?
I talked to Mike about that last time. I said it doesn't even matter if Minshew isn't, the top 10 quarterback. Dude, he's exciting.
Right.
Why would you want to just take that off the field?
And you can't get fans, Jackson. Yeah. Like, you can't sell a ticket when Minshew's not playing.
Gardner Minshew. Well,
I agree with you, Chris. That is my biggest reason for liking Minshew, too. It's not even that he was much better than Foles and actually won games. People love the guy. Like,
love him.
People wearing mustaches all over the stadium. Like, for a team that's really struggling with their fan base, it's a no-brainer. You have to go with Minshew. You have to.
Not to mention Minshew, it's not like he was a bad quarterback. Like I think there was a stretch during the year he was one of only like 2 or 3 quarterbacks to I don't know if it was QBR or it was touchdown interception ratio. He was one of the only guys to he was like top 5 in that category for like a 6-game stretch at one point. So I mean he played decent for being like a rookie being thrown into a shitty situation.
Yeah, the thing is, it's like he was a rookie. He was a 6th-round pick like Tom Brady, but he got thrown to the Jacksonville Jaguars, not Bill Belichick. He got thrown to the Jaguars and had to play a whole season with those guys, which, they're not a terrible football team, but there's definitely some they're not very well run, I should say that.
Yeah.
What the hell happened to that team just a couple years ago with Blake Bortles? They almost went to the freaking Super Bowl.
Well, I'll give you a couple things here. The first is, I don't know how Doug Marone's still the head coach of that team. I don't know how. You want to talk about a guy who's got 9 lives? That cat has 9 lives. But the other thing...
in that AFC Championship game, he's like, I made it there.
He's still riding it. He's still riding it. But here's the deal, okay? With the Jaguars and Gardner Minshew, first off, I talked about Doug Marrone. I don't know how he's leading that team anymore. But with Gardner Minshew... he drives me crazy, and I've talked to you about this, Francois, because he's always improvising. I'm not against improvising, but when you're always doing it and you're like 5'11" or however tall he is, and he doesn't have a big arm, he's not a great athlete, and he's always moving around. He's kind of slippery, surprisingly, but
he's very slippery.
Yeah,
but he gets out of these things.
That mustache.
He needs to stop. If he were to stop doing. It's the mustache.
Right, Michael. But on top of that, he was a rookie. He was a 6th-round pick that never thought he was going to play. So, yeah, he's not on time because, hell, he's just playing out of instinct, man. He didn't even have an offseason to prepare to be the starter.
Can we talk about how Jacksonville is missing a gold mine of a marketing campaign when you have Mustache Minshew and Big Dick Nick Foles on the same quarterback room? How have they not made those T-shirts?
That's like the man's quarterback.
I know.
You're like combine those.
Get those guys in an Old Spice commercial.
If you were to combine those two, I guarantee you'd end up with some porn, like some 90s porn.
Nick Foles has too much class for that. No,
I don't know. You guys are right. I don't think there's any way that the Jaguars can go back to Foles. I agree. I don't think they can. They've got to hope Minshew pans out.
Yeah, but here's the biggest problem here, fellas. They owe Nick Foles like $20 million.
Yeah.
Cut him.
So you're gonna pay your backup quarterback $20 million to sit on the bench? That's their dilemma right now.
Well, I actually had thought of that too, but at the same time, I mean, but you can't go to the guy who wasn't winning you games. And
I agree. But Chris, like we were talking about earlier, you know how you were said, a while ago, Haskins would have been considered really good, for a rookie quarterback, 20 years ago. Well, Minshew had 21 touchdowns and 6 picks last year.
Dude,
6th round pick.
He would have been up for MVP if he was playing 20 years ago.
Dude, if he had started the whole season and they had never messed around with Nick Foles, he might have been up for MVP this year, honestly.
Mm-hmm. What did he did? Was he in the top 3 for Rookie of the Year? I don't know if he was.
Should have been.
Might have been.
What was their record this year, Jacksonville?
Really
6 and 10.
So how does?
All
right, I understand Kyler Murray was great. I'm still already annoyed Kyler Murray got Rookie of the Year over Josh Jacobs because Josh Jacobs almost single-handedly took the Raiders to the playoffs. But Minshew had won more games than Murray.
Yeah,
he played less games.
Only 12. He went 6 and 6. Minshew did.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
True.
It's just a flash one. Kyler Murray was the first pick in the draft. He played in Cliff Kingsbury's offense, running around. It was just a flash vote, I think. Minshew, if he had started all 16 games, to me, he was the Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy was a 6th round pick. Never even thought he was going to start a game this year.
And literally, I remember that weekend, opening weekend, being down in San Diego watching games with my buddy, and all of a sudden we look over at the Kansas City Chiefs Jaguars game, and it's literally 3 minutes into the game, and I'm like, who the hell's at quarterback for Jacksonville?
This Minshew character.
It was the Gardner Minshew. Minshew mania. I think he's.
Dude, I live in South Dakota, and I love Minshew. If I lived that dude in Jacksonville would sell so much merchandise and tickets. I mean, dude, I watched one game last year. It was the game when Foles came back. When they started Nick. It was 2 games after Foles was back when they benched Minshew.
Mm-hmm.
And that crowd wanted no part of Nick Foles.
No.
All they wanted to see was Gardner Minshew on the field. That was it. And they did not care at all if they won or lost. They just wanted to see Gardner Minshew playing quarterback.
Which is why I don't understand why Marrone is back there when you have a quarterback like Minshew and everyone else seems to be hiring these spread coordinators and coaches. Fucking fire Marrone and go to college and go get the next spread innovator.
Yeah.
Go get Mike Leach.
Yeah, bring him to Jacksonville and let them recreate this thing.
Snatch him out of Mississippi State. Look, he's never been given a chance as an NFL coach.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he never will be.
No.
That's too much. That's too much work for him.
He's too busy explaining student loans.
He wouldn't be allowed to tweet as much.
No. And his interviews would be a lot more professional.
Yeah.
He can't do it.
Yeah.
Although he would definitely have a bunch of great stories about alligators and stuff being down in Florida.
Absolutely.
And then he'd have to do his mascot thing for the NFL.
Oh, yeah.
He'd have to do that too. Well, guys, this has been a lot of fun, but we're going to have to wrap it up for now. As Chris said, my name is Michael Barnaud. I'm a member of the Barker Media website, barkermedia.com. If you go check that out, we've just launched it, and there are several other content producers you can find on there, all of them great guys with great content. And this is the Blitz on YouTube, Barnow's Blitz, if you look it up. But I want to thank you two for coming on. There will be more of these. It's great. It's great talking football with you guys. And is there anything else you'd like to add before we wrap this thing up?
That's great spending the off season talking about the what ifs, and great seeing both of you guys. Having played football with all you guys, I love talking football, and Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, just fun, just talking football. When the football's not going on, it's always fun to, like Chris said, talk about the what ifs and the,
I'm still licking my wounds over here.
Hey, everybody's undefeated, Chris.
Everybody's
Here we
undefeated
are.
right now. Good point. Good point. Hey, one more thing. Go check out Chris Ferera's podcast, Ready or Not, and On Your Mark on the channel as well. So great content there. Chris got a great podcast voice. You're going to enjoy it. I'm Michael
Thanks, man.
Barnaud. This is The Blitz. Thanks for joining us.